How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Hey, let's go ahead and get started real quick. If I'm not mistaken, if I heard right, you live in Phoenix as well. Is that so?
Yeah, North Phoenix. I've been here about 2.5 years now. I can't tell you how much I absolutely love it out here.
Well, and it kind of caught me off guard when we said that. I said, oh, he's got to come. He's got to talk to us then if he lives out here already. So, and to get things started, you basically are promoting a Christmas EP, holiday EP called Christmas Miracle. And give us a little bit of the origins of that and what exactly inspired you to do this.
I'll tell you, it was a very strange thing. It didn't actually even start as a Christmas project. I was doing some work in the studio on a movie soundtrack, doing actually some special sound effects for a game that was based on a movie called The Monkey King. Monkey King being the biggest movie out of China, we actually got the contract to do some work for the video game. Nice account, but I guess when you're doing special effects work and you're trying to do sound effects and you do that for a long period of time, it can play a little trick on your head. And you got to get creative, got to hear more sounds. So I was working with Pete Lauren, the singer from Trixter, and he said, hey, Gus, why don't you go to your car and get that trumpet? I'm going to put up a couple of mics. Let's see what it sounds like. And I said, okay, what the heck, we'll give it a try. And the next thing you know, it sounded pretty good. And I said, well, what can we do with this? So it was the first time I actually used the trumpet as a primary voice, if you will, a voice of melody. And we recorded on a song, Ave Maria. And it sounded so wonderful. And I said, well, now I have this song. What am I going to do with it? And Pete said, why don't you get a whole bunch of other songs together and make a record? And I said, by the time I do that, it'll be Christmas. And I said, now we have direction. So it really turned into something really wonderful. And if you think about, if there's any time of year where music enhances something in the heart, Christmas locks it up. There's no second place. It's first, second, and third straight across. So the idea of doing a Christmas project was so appealing to me, and I can't tell you how much it really touched me, and how happy and proud I am of the final product.
And to go a little more further, you actually were a trumpet player prior to drumming. Is that so?
That's true, yeah. My mom, I got to give her the credit. She pushed me in a certain direction classically. She was classically trained. She said, I wanted to play drums of all things. Right. So she said, if you want to play drums first, you're going to learn to do it the right way. And oh my God, I guess when you're 7 years old, that's not exactly the thing you want to hear.
Right.
But she was right. So nevertheless, now is the time where I truly see the value in it. When it comes to composing, when it comes to doing more in music, she gave me the foundation of doing it the right way. And it truly lent itself to becoming this project with Christmas Miracle. That's something so special, and it really has touched me now in such a way that I can't thank her enough.
Wow. And the single, the first single is a rendition of Ave Maria actually all the proceeds for the single are going to hopefororinternational.org. Is that correct?
Yeah, Hope for Kids International. It's really... It is the most rewarding thing I think I've ever been involved with. When you get into music and into performing, you want to touch one person. The idea that people give something and touch you in a certain way, that's something I never really expected. And to be a part of Hope for Kids International is the idea where you can do something that's so profound in a child's life that it changed their life for something so much better. Going to disadvantaged areas and people that are really poor, have lost their parents, that really have lost sight of hope. And if you can change that, you're making the world a better place. And I can't tell you the gratification that gives me inside. And to do it around Christmas time, it's a win-win all the way across the board. Hope for Kids International has shown me something that I never thought I'd see. And I cannot begin to tell you the amazing feeling it gives you as a person to be involved with what they do.
Great. To remind our viewers, we're speaking with Mark Scott of the band Trixter, and we're talking about his Christmas EP, holiday EP that's coming out. It came out actually on Thanksgiving, is that so?
That is correct, yeah. I got to be very honest with you. It's been so well received, and I was a little concerned about it, being a bit of a crazy rock and roll fella for that I'm mostly known for, to enter the classical arena. A lot of people didn't quite know what was happening. And I was a little concerned with perception or misperception, I guess. And at the end of the day, it's kind of funny. I tell people, I don't want you to buy my record. I really want people to just take a listen. Whether you go to my website or you go to YouTube and you see the video for Ave Maria, don't spend any money. Take a good listen. Here's something that you might see as something special or of value. particularly around this time of year.
Right.
And being with Home for Kids International, I believe together that we could all make change for the better.
Well, I think, and also too, just musically speaking, I think there's a misconception in general that rock musicians only like rock music, and that just isn't so. It's ridiculous for people to think that they only listen to one kind of music or play, like it's just nonsense.
It's funny when you deal with masses of people. Sometimes that nonsense does become the prevailing thought. You really nailed something on the head there. But yeah, it's funny. Back in the days of where classical music ruled, that was the heavy metal of the time.
Right.
That was some cutting edge stuff. That was the rebellious music of people who their parents were something different. And then the Baroque period came and virtuosity came into play.
Right.
It's like, what are you doing? You can't possibly do that. That's against the rules.
Right.
And that's really what music, I think, over time is what it's all about: breaking the rules, setting new boundaries. Trying something new, and a new culture evolves out of that.
Right.
And sometimes, in this case, we take a look back at those days and we bring something to the forefront. And I believe Christmas Miracle is something that takes a new look on something old that really makes it better.
What are your personal favorites on this EP? If you had to
All
pick.
of them. That's pretty funny. When we thought about doing actually a Christmas CD, I said, what are my favorite songs? What do I want to put on there? So, the ones that you don't see on there, those are the ones that I didn't like.
Right.
My absolute favorite, I have to say, is "Oh Holy Night." And I got to tell you, every time I hear a good artist do that song, it gets me right here.
Right.
And the way we did it with the horn, I structured the harmonies to be somewhat angelic. I wanted that feeling to come across. I think as an artist, it's a very selfish sort of thing when you're making the song. You have a feeling inside, and you don't record it for everyone else. You do it for yourself.
Right.
Kind of selfish, but you want to recreate that feeling that you feel,
Sure.
so someone else can experience it. And I think I really, really went that extra mile in trying to make that happen. And a song like "Oh Holy Night" is one that really wraps it up. And I'm getting a lot of strong feedback on that one.
Right.
I'm very proud and very honored that hopefully I touched someone out there with it. And it appears that it's getting one heck of a reaction.
Great. Would you see at any point in the future you could take something like this on the road, making future classical records and taking it on the road somehow, even playing with city orchestras, for example, like the Phoenix Symphony?
Well, to play with the Phoenix Symphony would be amazing, number one. And I've done that sort of thing in the past. And the reason why I'm hesitant, the answer is yes, I do see it.
Right.
Realistically, though, there becomes a complicated issue. You ever see how many people are involved in making a real orchestra?
Yes.
You know what kind of work and time goes into it. So I say it somewhat jokingly, somewhat not. To do it the right way would be most challenging.
Right.
And I think that's what scares me. If I'm up to the challenge of really doing it,
Right.
could I do it with a backing track or something like that? Sure, I could probably do that in a good 40 minutes and be down at the station. But realistically, to do it the right way and to make it a real experience for the
Right.
viewer, that takes effort and to be done the right way. And if I did something like that, I'd really like to do it the right way.
Right.
But all we could say at this point is who knows what the future may bring.
Right. Fair enough, yeah. So what's going on with Trixter these days? I know you guys released 2 albums over the past 5 years, 2 new records.
Yeah, actually, if I'm not mistaken, 5 years. Yeah, that's right. We also had one just prior to that. We did a live recording in Japan that we also released. But the past 2 studio albums, New Audio Machine and
Right.
Human Error, within the past 5 years on the Frontiers EMI label, I got to tell you something. This is the strangest thing. A lot of bands from back in the era where we were really busy, really doing well, they've come out with records more recently, and maybe some of the material wasn't so wonderful.
Right.
I was concerned about being lumped into that category.
Right.
And when we came up with our first album back, New Audio Machine, it charted number 56 on iTunes, and I was blown away.
Right.
But even more important than that, we were proud of the material. Whether it was commercial success or not, I can't begin to tell you how we truly stood by what we did there. That the quality of material we put on there, we truly believed in. We loved it. We redid it ourselves.
Right.
We didn't have anybody giving us direction or telling us what to do. And to have it come out in such a fashion and to be able to stand there and look you in the eye and say, you know what, we love what we did here. Right. We really hope you would enjoy it too. And it was so well received.
Right.
That was amazing after all these years getting it back together to have that.
I imagine that must have been gratifying in the sense that it was all 4 members of the lineup, as opposed to what we see nowadays with one person, getting a bunch of anybody's and calling it fill in the blank. I imagine that must have been gratifying for all four of you to be able to say, hey, we're still together and still the four of us.
I think that's one thing we made a point of. We did not want to do the project without the original members being all on board. We didn't. It's something special. You know how long we've known each other? Right. I mean, we grew up with each other before we even put the band together. Most bands don't start like that. They got to put an ad out in a magazine or something like that.
Right.
Literally, between Pete's house and Steve's house, we all live within 1 square mile of town.
Right.
We got PJ from a neighboring town 10 minutes away. So, I knew Steve since I was maybe 10. He was 8. Wow. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Right.
He made fun of me in Little League Baseball, trying to make me trip as I'm going around first base.
Right.
So we have a deep-rooted history with each other, even prior to doing anything musical together.
So
and the fact that we even
you...
put the band together so long ago, I mean, we've known each other well over 30 years.
Wow. So all four of you basically just said, if it's not the four of us together, then there's no Trixter. Is that fair to say?
That's correct. That is exactly what happened. And at the end of the day, we put it back together. And we've been having a hell of a lot of fun ever since.
Good to hear. Is it more or less of a part-time endeavor, though, for lack of a better way to put it?
I hate to say it, yes. I wish it were more full-time.
Right.
But, it's even funny now, like what's going on. Everyone's off in their own direction doing some ancillary project.
Right.
Steve and PJ have things they're working on. Pete has a couple bands that he works on outside the Phoenix area, as a matter of fact. Georgia Chrome, a great country band, and a top 40 band named Smash that plays around the Phoenix metropolitan area. Outstanding projects.
Right.
So it's great to exercise what you have going on outside. And myself, it's Christmas time. I have the Christmas Miracle EP in full force. So yeah, it's good to go get away and do something else. But one thing's for sure, when we put it back together, you're going to know about it.
Well, let me go ahead on that note. I just found out actually a couple of days ago that the Eric Martin band, and Eric Martin, for those who don't know, he's a singer of a band called Mr. Big. Two of your bandmates, PJ and Steve are going to play in the Eric Martin band. Am I understanding that correctly?
That is correct. Coming to the Scottsdale area. God bless him.
At January 6th at BLK Live.
That's it. Yeah. BLK, hot spot. A lot of rock and roll coming through that spot.
Right. I take it you're going to be at the gig then. Huh.
We shall see.
Yeah. All right. And just let me go ahead and remind you, just so everyone knows that, again, if anybody's interested in seeing Trixter, they're not coming to the Valley right now as we speak, but again, there are two members of Trixter who will be playing with the Eric Martin Band on Saturday, January 6th at the BLK Live, and tickets are available at blkliveaz.com. So let the guys know that we spread the word out for the fans out there. So,
Val, we appreciate it. God bless America. We appreciate that very much.
We're going to go back a little bit now to 1992. The time I saw you guys are playing opening here at what was then the AWA America West Arena, opening for Kiss on their Revenge tour in December 1992. What was it like touring with them at that time?
First thing above all else, I remember getting the phone call to go on the road with them. What a monumental occasion. At the time, it was the biggest phone call I ever got in my life. Kiss was always a band that we looked to. They were our gods.
Right.
They were our mentors. So the idea that we got the opportunity to go on the road and play arenas with Kiss, and we got to play our hometown arena of Meadowlands, New Jersey, opening for our heroes. I mean, that's the stage we saw them on, and one day we said, we're going to be just like them. And now we're going to open the show for Kiss. Are you kidding me? So it was almost unfathomable that we were granted this godly permission to do something like on that scale. It was really amazing. Truly one of the great honors. I had dinner 3 nights a week with Gene Simmons. Can I tell you that what kind of kid in the candy store gets that opportunity?
Right.
What a rare thing. And you see the pictures that we share on Facebook and stuff like that. That we've been blessed with so many dreams coming true. X amount of times over the course of our lives, our cup truly has run over. And being on the road with someone of the stature of Kiss, there are no words. There are no words.
Interesting, yeah. And you guys got to tour with quite a few of the bands of that time. And, the label thing gets really old after a while because I think too many people of the time, the music, people tend to undermine the fact that people say so-called grunge took over so-called hair metal. two terms that I hate for the record, like I said, because to me, there was just as much room for a Poison and Rat and bands as much as there is Soundgarden and Alice in Chains. It was a little silly to see that kind of back and forth, and even to this day it still exists. Well, grunge killed metal. Well, that's just not true. I mean, the labeling got to a point where it was yawn. I mean, is that fair to say?
There's a lot of behind-the-scenes politics that actually went on when it came to the dawn of the 90s, where the shift in music actually changed. What actually happened, what was mainstream became the alternative, and what was alternative became the mainstream.
Right.
The question is, how did something like that actually just happen? It didn't just happen naturally.
Right.
It was a big case. I'll try to make it as quick and to the point. Trixter had a #1 video with a video called Surrender. We were #1 for 2 weeks, and MTV killed the top 10 countdown. Trixter was the last #1 video to be played on MTV. And we were never played on MTV again after that. Not because we did something wrong. Right. That's just a change that MTV made. And that was their start of kicking off the 90s, making something different. And bands like Pearl Jam and Nirvana that couldn't get arrested on MTV a couple of years prior, now they had the red carpet rolled out.
Right.
So it was kind of a very strange sort of events. We were on the road with Warrant and Firehouse playing a very big tour, the biggest tour of 1991, and we were cut from MTV. We did a place called World Amphitheater in Chicago, sold it out, 33,000 people, and we were banned from MTV. Right. How did something like that happen? We really, at the time, we were scratching our heads, saying, well, how, we couldn't understand any logic behind it.
Right. But
that is reality. And they instituted a change, and that change perpetuated throughout the decade, and now they're outside.
It's safe to say you guys probably got more MTV airplay than radio airplay. Is that fair to say?
Yes,
in a general
actually,
sense.
It's kind of funny. When you first start, we went to MTV and said, here's our new video, check it out. Say, well, what's major radio doing with that? We're like, oh my God. So we go to major radio and say, hey, check out our new single. And major radio would say, well, what's MTV doing with it? So at first we were at a real big impasse. We weren't quite sure how we were going to handle anything. Right. But MTV gave us a shot. They put us on something called Smash or Trash. And Give It To Me Good, our first video, they put it up and they said, okay, guys, here's your big shot. We're going to call in tonight. If you like it, call in this 800 number and say we love it. Smash. And if you hate it, call in this other number and we trash it.
Right.
And thank God we smashed it around 87%. So I got to tell you, the career could have been over within a 24-hour period.
Right.
But we were very fortunate. We were really very, very well embraced by the people on MTV. And thank God for MTV. They were the one that actually made it happen for us. And at the end of the day, it wasn't just bands like us. It was a lot of bands. Bands like Def Leppard, Bon Jovi, bands that sold 10 million copies every time they came out with a record. The next year after this change, they sold something like 2 million.
Right.
That was a big drop off in sales, so it was very hard for many bands to weather the storm, so to speak.
And they say that at the time, I've heard many bands say that one play on MTV equals like 1,000 radio stations. So it was almost like bands didn't really care if they were on the radio as long as they had MTV support. And then as time went on, of course, the kind of, I don't want to say bitterness, but very close to it started emerging by a lot of bands at that time, saying grunge killed metal and blah, blah, blah. And I just felt there was room for both. I mean, as far as I was concerned, I either liked it or I didn't,
I will agree with you. I believe there was room for both. Whether somebody wanted to allow that to happen or not, that I think is what remains to be seen. But I share your take on the situation. I agree.
Right. Just a reminder, we're speaking with Mark Scott from the band Trixter, and we was speaking about he's promoting the album Christmas Miracle, which is a 7-song EP that was just released on Thanksgiving a few days ago. And Mark, anything you want to add to your fans and let anybody know about a little more about the record? And
I got to tell you something. Nothing bothers me more when somebody gets on a promotional element and just starts promoting products and blah blah blah. If I could just for one moment step back and say thank you. When the kids buy the tickets after all the years that we've been doing this and we put it back together, I can't tell you what an amazing feeling it is to see people in the front row singing. See people in the last row going crazy. I know how much of a pain in the neck it is to wait online for a ticket. When it's cold outside, you got to park your car. It's another $20. By the time you get to the front door, there's a problem at will call. They can't find your passes. Blah blah blah. I've been there. I know what it's like. All I can tell you, this holiday season, you're going to get a thank you from me. I truly can't tell you how much I appreciate all the love and support over all the years that we've had. And this year is going to be a very Merry Christmas. I salute you. Thank you very, very much.
Great to hear. All right, Mark, thanks for your time, and good luck with the project. And I guess the Trixter fans will be looking forward to singing with Eric Martin. Kind of a nice surprise for them on that.
Absolutely, sir. We're going to have a great time. And I can't tell you how much I wish you, sir, a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much. Same to you. Take care. Bye.